From 1884 to 1887, a new rail line was built from the city of Sheffield, located in Lauderdale County, to Jasper, the county seat of Walker County, and then to Parrish. The construction of this line went through several ownership and name changes before finally ending up being named the Birmingham, Sheffield, and Tennessee River Railway. The Birmingham, Sheffield, and Tennessee River Railway secured agreements with the Kansas City, Memphis, and Birmingham Railroad, later to be named the St. Louis and San Francisco Railroad, to provide transportation of their passengers and freight on the line to Birmingham. The same type agreement was secured with the Georgia Pacific Railway for passengers wishing to connect in Parrish, continuing on to Birmingham. Between 1894 and 1895, both the Georgia Pacific Railway and the Birmingham, Sheffield, and Tennessee River Railway were acquired by Southern Railway. The Birmingham, Sheffield, and Tennessee River Railway's name was changed to the Northern Alabama Railway and would operate as a separate division of Southern Railway. During this period, state geologists have been doing extensive surveys of this region, mapping out vast coal seams that would later be named the Warrior Coal Basin and contain one of the largest coal fields in the United States. Beginning in 1897, no coal mining operations were taking place along the Northern Alabama Railway line located between Jasper and Parrish. To the east of Parrish, the America Mines have been operating a series of drift mines for several years along the former Georgia Pacific, now Southern Railway line. The recently formed Jasper Coal Company acquired some land to the south of Cane Creek along the Northern Alabama Railway and began developing several drift mines on a sizable coal seam averaging some 7 feet in thickness, as reports indicated. A tipple and rail siding were constructed along with several shop buildings and miners' homes. The mines and new camp became known as Calumet. By 1900, some 100 miners were employed at the Calumet mines, with more drift openings planned. The North Alabama Railway began making scheduled daily stops at Calumet due to the increased volume of passenger along with freight traffic that included coal at the growing mining camp. In May 1902, several local Jasper businessmen, including John Hollis Bankhead Jr., formed the Calumet Coal Company with $50,000 in working capital and purchased the Calumet coal mines and land from the Jasper Coal Company. The new company began expanding by opening 2 additional drift mines and later developing a slope mine to operate on the Mary Lee coal seam. During 1905, with several drifts operating along the North Alabama Railway line, company engineers had staked out in the area just northwest of the camp to develop their slope mine. Located on the south side of Cane Creek, the new mine was closer to the existing line of the St. Louis and San Francisco Railroad, formerly the Kansas City, Memphis, and Birmingham Railroad. Company officials contracted with Frisco to construct a half-mile spur line to parallel Cane Creek on the north side to service the new mine. By the spring of 1906, the new Calumet No. 1 slope mine had opened and was being serviced by the new Frisco spur line. During this period, between 45 to 50,000 tons of coal was being pulled annually from the Calumet mines. During the period between 1904 to 1906, the new Cane Creek Coal Company was formed and incorporated by several Jasper businessmen that included John Hollis Bankhead Jr. It appears that the Calumet mining operations were transferred over to the new company for a period of a year or more by 1906. In December 1906, The Brilliant Coal Company, located in Marion County, was purchased from T.H. Aldrich by Erskine A. Massey with $300,000 in initial startup capital. Under new ownership, the Brilliant Coal Company acquired the Atlas Coal Company, operating near Oakman in Walker County, and the Cane Creek Coal Company, operating at Calumet. The Brilliant Coal Company was briefly headquartered at Eldridge in Walker County before eventually locating their main office and headquarters in Birmingham at the Woodward Building, located at 20th Street and 1st Avenue North. By 1910, there was one slope and 4 drift mines operating at Calumet. In March 1910, the Caledonia Coal Company was formed in Birmingham by Mr. James Gallagher and several businessmen for the purpose of engaging in the operations of coal mining. With $100,000 in working capital, they initially purchased some 3,000 acres of land, some 2 miles south of the Calumet mines along the Northern Alabama Railway line. At that time, Caledonia was a small rural hamlet located around 4 miles north of Parrish along the Northern Alabama Railway. A new rail siding and coal tipple were constructed just to the north of the present-day Owen School Road. A 160-foot deep vertical shaft was sunk to reach the Mary Lee coal seam that averaged between 6 to 8 feet in thickness. A boiler plant and cable hoist house were constructed along with other surface facilities, including a stable for mules and later a commissary and doctor's office. A coreless steam-operated cable hoisting engine was utilized to pull coal cars to the surface at the loading tipple. A steam-operated Crawford and McCrimmon air fan was also installed to provide fresh air underground. The boiler plant provided all electricity converted from steam power. Initially, some 35 miners were employed, with some dozen homes being constructed for employees and their families. By 1912, annual output had doubled to more than 40,000 tons, and a number of the miners had increased to some 75 to 100 persons employed. In 1910, the Bankhead Coal Company was formed in Jasper with $75,000 in working capital for the purpose of coal mining. The company was founded by William B. Bankhead of Jasper. The Bankheads were a very well-established, prominent landowning and business family from Lamar County, situated along the state line with Mississippi. In years following the Civil War, they had invested in the growing business trades in the Jasper area of Walker County. The Bankheads had seen business opportunities in investing in coal mining for a number of years. The Bankhead family would go on to become instrumental in Alabama politics and business for over a half a century. The town of Bankhead and mines were eventually named in their honor, and in many years following, highways, hotels, bridges, the Bankhead Lock and Dam on the Warrior River, the Bankhead Tunnel in Mobile, and the Bankhead National Forest in Alabama would be named for the family. William Bankhead's 2 eldest sons already had vested interest in the operations of the Calumet and Cane Creek Coal Company before selling to the Brilliant Coal Company and starting the Bankhead Coal Company in 1910. The company had opened a coal slope mine operating at Carbon Hill, serviced by the Frisco Rail Line, until late 1912, when it was sold to the recently formed Warrior River Coal Company, headquartered in Bessemer, Alabama. Sometime between 1911 and 1912, they purchased a large block of outstanding shares and secured bonds of the Caledonia Coal Company to have a controlling interest in that company. Eventually, the camp at the Caledonia mine was named Bankhead, along with various reports and articles of that period begin to refer to it as the Bankhead Shaft Mine. By 1917, operations had expanded so much that the Caledonia Coal Company had additional homes built at the Bankhead camp to accommodate the increased number in employees and their families. A commissary, medical office, schools have been built along with a small rail depot constructed by the North Alabama Railway, which had begun making scheduled stops to and from Jasper and Parrish. In 1918, John Hollis Bankhead Jr., who had been appointed president of the Caledonia Coal Company by 1913, made a tender offer to purchase the outstanding stock and bonds in order to outright own the company along with members of his family. By early 1919, the Caledonia Coal Company was dissolved and the Bankhead Coal Company became the new owners. The Calumet mines, now owned and operated by the Brilliant Coal Company, had secured several long-term contracts with various railroads and companies to supply monthly set tonnage quotas of coal. These long-term contracts provided steady employment for the miners and their families. By 1917, Calumet was operating 2 drift mines and 1 slope on the Mary Lee seam. Some 150 miners were employed, with the daily coal output averaging around 800 tons. At Calumet, 2 separate coal loading tipples had been in operation for a number of years, making it very unique. One elevated coal tipple was situated spanning across the north side of Cane Creek, being serviced by a spur line of the Frisco Railroad. The other tipple was located around the southeast side of the ridge line from where the mines were located and situated above a rail siding of the Northern Alabama Southern Railway line. Both coal tipples were connected by rail tramway lines whereby small locomotives transported the loaded coal carts from the mine entrances to the coal loading tipples. Neither coal tipple at this time was equipped with a coal washing station. By 1918, engineers had estimated that there were at least 2 million tons of unmined coal at Calumet. Additional homes and a new school were built along with increasing the size of the rail depot. With increased demand for coal coming from the Calumet mines, company geologists and engineers had discovered a new area of the Mary Lee coal seam and decided to open an additional slope mine to the south of its current slope mine in order to increase the daily output to some 2,000 tons of coal. A massive cave-in occurred at the number 1 slope mine in September of 1919, causing half of the roof to collapse, blocking many areas of ongoing mining operations. The majority of the cave-in occurred on the north side of the slope mine, where most of the old worked-out sections were located. However, the collapse affected the main slope haulage area that would take many months to clear and repair. After many weeks of temporary repair work, the mine was up and running on a limited operation and would not be back at full service until the summer of 1921. During this time period, construction was taking place at the Calumet No. 2 mine, with the erecting of new surface facilities that included a cable hoist house, tipple, bathhouse, and various shop buildings being built along with the development in the sinking of the new slope to reach the Mary Lee coal seam. A new 1-mile-long spur line was laid with extra sidings by Southern Railway to service the new mine. By March 1922, the Calumet No. 2 mine was now operating along with the Calumet No. 1 mine, allowing for extracted coal to reach some 1,200 tons of daily output between the 2 mines. The number one slope mine was kept in operation for a number of years so that as much available coal could be extracted before it was shut down, along with any of the remaining drift mines still being worked. Thereafter, all operations at Calumet took place at the number 2 slope mine. In 1929, Bray & Coal Company contracted with the Stewart Machine Company of Birmingham to install a coal washing system that included an Elmore-type coal washing equipment. By this time, the new Bankhead slope mine had opened a half-mile south of the Calumet No. 2 mine along the same spur line. By 1923, the Bankhead shaft mine at Caledonia was nearing its limit on available coal to be worked out. Add to which the original location of the shaft mine and surface facilities inhibited expansion, along with all the equipment was in need of replacement and upgrading. The Bankhead Coal Company had recently purchased a large tract of land to the south and also to the north, adjoining the current property line boundaries of the Calumet mines, in order to expand underground coal mining on the Mary Lee seam that would total some 3,000 acres of valuable coal mining property. Engineers and geologists had located a new site almost 1 mile northeast of the Caledonia shaft and a half-mile south of the current Calumet No. 2 slope mine that had recently been opened. By the spring of 1924, miners had begun developing the new Bankhead slope mine. Southern Railway began laying a new line that would parallel the Calumet spur line down to the new Bankhead mine. Southern Steel Works of Birmingham was contracted to build an all-steel coal tipple that would be able to handle the expected 2,500 tons of daily output from the new slope mine. 2 5-car rotary dumps that were designed by Erskine Ramsey of Birmingham were installed at the top of the tipple. The new slope mine would have twin tracks and be serviced by a dual electric cable hoist. By October of that year, the new Bankhead slope mine officially opened. All surface and underground machinery and lighting were completely powered by electricity. The Bankhead mine would utilize electric locomotives as well as short-wall mining machines to increase efficiency in production. Some 200 coal miners were now employed working underground, in addition to numerous workers employed at topside positions at surface facilities such as various shops, the hoist house, and loading tipple. The Pratt Fuel Corporation, which had been formed and incorporated in 1922 with its headquarters in Birmingham, had been making large financial acquisitions of coal companies and mines located in Walker County. They had recently purchased many inactive mines in the Dora Horse Creek area from Pratt Consolidated Coal Company and had established their mining office at Dora also. In early 1925, Pratt Fuel had made a tender offer of over $1 million to purchase both the Bankhead and Stith coal companies. The Stith mines were located some 8 miles south at Aldridge and were connected by the Inslee Southern Railroad's line running from Parrish down to Gorgas. After much negotiations, both companies and their holdings were purchased by the Pratt Fuel Corporation. Even after the sale, the Bankheads would always maintain an interest and input for the community that they had helped create and grow. The Pratt Fuel Corporation assumed control of operating the Bankhead coal mine in May 1925. The previous company had spent a large sum of money for that period in developing the new slope mine and erecting new surface facilities. There was contemplation of developing a second slope mine nearby to operate on the Mary Lee seam to bring the total daily output to near 4,000 tons. Some 100 additional miners were going to be hired for this project. By all reports, it appeared that this project was put on hold while the company was still expanding its holdings in Walker County. By 1926, the Bankhead mine was extracting some 1,400 tons of coal for daily output. It was considered to be one of the largest, best equipped, and most profitable coal mines in Walker County during this time period. The operators of the Bankhead mine contracted with the National Coal and Coke Company to serve as agents for selling their coal. The National Coal and Coke Company was headquartered in Birmingham and had extensive contracts with numerous coal mining companies in the district to handle their sales. They were one of the largest distributors of all types of coal in the Southeast during these years. By the summer of 1927, the changes in ownership at the Bankhead mine continued to the Pratt Coal and Byproducts Corporation, which in turn went insolvent and placed in court receivership by September of that year. A new company, originally chartered in Delaware and then relocated to Birmingham, was the Consolidated Coal Company, which included officers from the Pratt Byproducts Corporation and National Coal and Coke Company, which in turn purchased the Bankhead mine and property. From these transactions, the Consolidated Coal Company formed the Cane Creek Coal Mining Company in October 1927 to operate as a separate division and run the Bankhead mine. When the Cane Creek Coal Mining Company took over operations at the Bankhead mine, they immediately began to make capital improvements by installing a state-of-the-art coal washing system built by the Stewart Machine Company of Birmingham. Hardy Tynes Manufacturing Company of Birmingham installed some of the latest machinery for the coal washing plant. The steel tipple was modified for the new coal washing plant, as well as the ordering of new coal cars and the purchasing of 15-ton electric locomotives to be used underground. By October 1928, the new coal washing plant and facilities were placed in service. Over $250,000 had been invested into the Bankhead mine. By 1930, nearly 100 homes had been built with some 400 men employed at the Bankhead mine. The monthly payroll amounted to nearly $30,000 for the local economy. Total daily output had exceeded to over 2,500 tons, making it one of the largest mining operations in Walker County. In 1930, coal miners working deep inside the Bankhead mine came across a series of prehistoric tracks located in between the rock strata shale and the coal seam. At the time, these were some of the largest fossilized animal tracks yet found inside any coal mine in Walker County. Many coal mines in southern Walker County contain numerous fossilized tracks of animals, plant life, and trees that were discovered in the 1920s. Many of the tracks were saved and removed for further studies by State and University of Alabama geologists. The most well-documented fossil tracks were found in the Galloway No. 11 mine that was located at Carbon Hill in the late 1920s. Even today, in areas of Walker County at current and inactive strip mine sites, fossilized tracks are still being found. In 1934, the Northern Alabama Railway was officially merged into the Southern Railway system. Thereafter, all trains operating would be under the Southern Railway banner, servicing the Calumet and Bankhead mines in their communities. By 1935, the Cane Creek Coal Mining Company opened up the Bankhead No. 2 slope mine on the east side of the coal washing plant at the base of a hill to reach the Mary Lee seam. The new slope allowed for easier access for underground mining operations for that area within the property boundary lines. The number 2 mine was set up with a long electrical conveyor belt to move coal from the central loading area deep inside the mine up the slope to the surface connecting with the coal washing plant. In January 1937, while on a tour throughout the state of Alabama for the Farm Services Administration, famed New York City photographer Arthur Rothstein visited the Bankhead mines and camp while in Walker County. Rothstein was the first photographer hired by President Roosevelt's New Deal agency to document through photographs the plight of Americans during the Great Depression and the need for government assistance to improve the living, working, economic, and agricultural conditions that was ravaging many areas of the country during this period. The photographs that Mr. Rothstein took at the Bankhead mines and camp would be the only ones taken of daily life at a coal mining camp in Walker County during this period. The only other coal mining operations that he visited and documented while in Alabama was that of the Sayreton and Lewisburg coal mines, located just north of Birmingham in Jefferson County. The black and white photos that Mr. Rothstein took at the Bankhead, Sayreton, and Lewisburg mines would become some of the most widely viewed photographs taken of coal miners during the 1930s in the Great Depression era. Mr. Rothstein went on to travel the United States documenting life in the country by taking some 80,000 photographs detailing the plight and hardships of the poor and working class that had become victims with no control of the economic situations that had affected them. With the outbreak of war in Europe in September 1939, coal mine production had increased across the United States to supply America's allies with necessary raw and finished materials needed for military and industrial use. The Bankhead and Calumet mines, like many in the Birmingham district, added additional miners to their payrolls to fulfill needed quotas. When the United States entered the war after December 7, 1941, monthly output of coal from both mines was at its highest, with 3 full shifts working around the clock. Many miners enlisted to serve or were called up. Much of the coal went on consignment to Southern Railway during these years. Other consignments of coal as needed by the War Department went to various furnaces and plants for the production of war material. Coal was a valuable war resource and was rationed to the public during this period. When the official ending of the war on September 2, 1945, annual output of coal from the Bankhead and Calumet mines remained high for the next several years due to reconstruction materials needed for Europe and Japan. Between 1947 to 1950, some 82 men were employed by the Birmingham Coal Company at the Calumet No. 2 mine that was averaging around 62,000 tons pulled and washed annually. The Bankhead mines, operated by Consolidated Coal Company, had some 140 men employed and was averaging around 55,000 tons pulled and washed annually. Between 1943 to 1947, the U.S. Department of the Interior, along with cooperation of the United Mine Workers Union, conducted a joint survey led by the U.S. Navy of medical, health, and housing conditions in the bituminous coal regions of the United States. Led by Rear Admiral Joel T. Boone, survey teams visited coal mining camps in the Birmingham district to document mining camp conditions. Two camps that were visited in the region were Bankhead and Calumet. The survey teams visited miners' homes, talked with families, visited facilities, and spoke with mine company and union officials to get a better understanding of what could be done to increase living and health standards in the camps. The photos taken provide a timeless glimpse into the daily lives and conditions miners and their families endured working and living in the coal mining camps of that era. Even before the start of World War II, many miners at Calumet and Bankhead had begun commuting by automobile from Jasper, which was just under 4 miles away, and after the war, that number had increased. There were better homes and schools for their families as well as shopping, and not to be reliant on company stores. Many returning war veterans used their service pay of what they had saved up to achieve better living standards by purchasing a home and new vehicle. As such, the population at both Bankhead and Calumet had begun to decline, leaving many vacant homes that were eventually sold off or razed by the mining companies. By 1947, it is estimated that the combined population of both Bankhead and Calumet was no more than 250 to 300 persons since the last census was taken in 1940 of that area. In 1947, the National Mine Association awarded the Bankhead No. 2 mine the coveted Sentinels of Safety Award for achieving a perfect safety record in 1946. During the war years of 1941 to 1945, railroad companies had to defer replacement of wooden trestles due to the great need for lumber for war production. As a result, many railroads had opted for what was called a trestle fill. This type of project had been in use for a number of years by many railroads. The increasing cost of replacing a high long wooden trestle and maintaining regular maintenance was costly. In early 1947, the wooden trestle located near Northern Alabama Railway milepost 90.7 was deemed too expensive to replace. The increased heavy freight traffic on the line between Jasper and Parrish made it a priority for Southern Railway engineers. The trestle was 580 feet in length and 85 feet in height. Engineers opted for a trestle fill by removing a long section of the line just west of the trestle that went around what was called Bankhead Hill. This sharp turn had always been an issue for trains ever since it was first constructed back in the 1880s. Large earth-moving equipment spent months cutting alongside the hill to straighten out the line, with big Euclid dump trucks hauling the rock and dirt to the trestle site for fill-in. In all, over 70,000 cubic yards of rock and dirt were removed and placed in the ravine to cover up the trestle. By October 1947, the trestle had been completely filled in to a solid earth embankment, and the sharp turn around the hill had been straightened out, allowing for greater freight tonnage to be moved along the line. In a 10-year period, Southern Railway had replaced over 500 trestles with fill-ins with solid earth and rock embankments. After the merger of the Northern Alabama Railway into Southern Railway in 1934, scheduled station stops at Calumet and Bankhead had decreased to flag stops only. After 1945, there were no stops on the line between Parrish and Jasper. By 1951, with decreasing number of passengers using the two daily trains between Sheffield and Parrish that was costing Southern Railway thousands of dollars annually, the service was discontinued by October of that year. Freight service would still operate on the line as it still does present day. Between 1951 to 1955, underground coal mining at Bankhead and Calumet had rapidly declined due to the decrease in coal consumption by the railroads transitioning to diesel locomotives. Southern Railway, being the biggest customer, had been rapidly converting from steam to diesel locomotives for a number of years. The brilliant coal company had better situated the Calumet mine to keep operating with some 50 miners still employed by securing contracts with Alabama Power to supply coal to their large steam plant located some 14 miles south at Gorgas along the Mulberry Fork of the Warrior River for a number of years. Alabama Power would also open a large steam power plant in Mobile, whereby large shipments of coal from Calumet would be transported by barges down the Warrior River to the new steam power plant in Mobile. In 1954, miners at Calumet had begun to remove the pillar foundations inside the Calumet No. 2 mine to extract the last available coal from underground before its closing. Strip mining operations had begun near the old Calumet No. 1 mine, which would last for several years before shutting down. The Consolidated Coal Company had begun drawing down underground mining operations at their Bankhead mines in the early 1950s. There were only some 50 to 60 miners left employed working underground. By 1955, both Bankhead mines had ceased operations, and only a skeleton crew was left employed to remove any still usable equipment from underground and for the surface facilities as well. The Commissary at Bankhead had already been closed along with the medical office and other facilities. The company had offered many of the homes still standing for sale or were raised by company officials. By 1958, all surface facilities had been torn down at Bankhead and the mine sealed. Southern Railway had removed the spurline tracks to the Bankhead mines, but would leave the Calumet spurline in place for a number of years before they too were removed. On into the early 1960s, several mining companies continued to coal strip mine sections of the original Calumet mines before ceasing operations. Southern Railway eventually pulled the last Calumet spurline track, effectively ending coal mining in that area. Over the many decades, dense overgrowth has covered the old mine sites, with nature reclaiming the area. So this right here is the concrete portal to the Calumet No. 2 slope mine. And what they did is when they built this road and they closed this mine off, the water coming out is coming out of the mine. So this is the concrete portal, and what they did is modify it and put some other concrete down there up top. But the slope entrance was right here, and then it was on an incline, a raised incline going up to the Southern Railway line, and you had the tipple, the coal washer, and way in the back was the hoist house. So this is all that really remains of the Calumet mine site, is this concrete portal to Calumet No. 2. And up there would have been the northern, it's still active Norfolk Southern, but that was the Northern Alabama Railway and the old Birmingham, Sheffield, and Tennessee River Railway. And back down in that direction is the were the Bankhead mines. So this is just taking a quick look inside what used to be the Calumet number two slope mine entrance. It's pretty flooded. You had to bend over just to get inside. But once you were inside and cleared that concrete section, you had about 12 feet to stand up and take a look around, and you can see the rail lines uh, were used as support to support the road underneath it. But it's pretty neat. And ahead would have been the slope mine. That's why it's completely flooded. Looking straight ahead towards the back wall, uh, that's just above the water line. Right below the water line is where the slope would begin and they would start descending. So if you were to walk any further, you would just completely sink uh, down the slope. It's completely flooded, but you can see a better picture here of the rail sections that actually support the road overhead. But this right here was the site of the Calumet number two slope mine. So it's like I said, not much to look at, but it is pretty interesting. It's a piece of mining history for those two mines that operated in this area at Calumet. Directly ahead, somewhere in this area. Not going to worry about going out in there to try to find it. It would just be, if I found it, it would just be a big concrete foundation. But this, right in this general area right here, is the site of the Calumet number two bathhouse for the miners. And just straight ahead, just past those trees right there, probably another 150 feet would have been the spur lines from the Southern Railway line coming down, and it would have gone all the way up in that direction toward where the trestle is that goes over what is today Calumet Road. So, but anyway, you can see it's all overgrown, thick underbrush. It's just when you look at that, it's hard to believe that there were two major mine sites working here back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, into the 1950s. So, but like I said, not much remains of Calumet except for the mine portal, which is really turned into almost like a drainage culvert. But it looks pretty neat once you get it. You can get inside because the coal seam was 6 to 8 feet in thickness. So we had managed to get over to the Bankhead mine sites, but it was pretty rough going. A lot of thick underbrush, and once you get over there, there's not really too much to see. You've got some concrete foundation remains. Uh, there was a remains of an air shaft that's it's completely filled in, but it was interesting. There's some rail sections, cross ties were everywhere. Right down here, there were cross tie remains everywhere where the spur lines were, and just right up there was the water reservoir on top of the hill. Uh, Went up there and took a look at it, but these are just concrete foundations, different sections of rails. They had really, when they closed those mines up and raised the buildings, they raised them to the ground and just crushed all the concrete foundations. So, wasn't really a whole lot to look at the Bankhead number one and number two mine sites. But it was interesting to go see just to see what was there, uh, but nothing of real significance, as you would expect. Uh, when you go to some of these old coal mine sites, you're lucky if you can even find a foundation remain. So this was taken right about where the Bankhead number two slope mine was. This is the site of the Caledonia and Bankhead shaft mine site. This is taking a look to the north, this is the site of the Boiler House Foundation right here. The So it was a pretty sizable foundation. The rail line is off to the left, and straight ahead would have been where the tipple was. Back in that direction was where the shaft mine was. So the only good time to visit that area is in the wintertime. So, uh, because you can't see anything uh, when all the kudzu's up. So only in the wintertime can you even remotely see some of the foundations. But back in that area was more sections at the Bankhead mining camp or the original Caledonia mining camp. And back in that direction also was more the camp. And back in that direction, just directly headed down below, was the trestle, still there going over Owen School Road. But just in this direction would have been the location of the tipple and the shaft mine. And further up ahead is where the location of the Bankhead Commissary would have been. One special item of importance that is worth mentioning in this video is that the site that we were on, the site of the mining camp where the commissary was located, and the Caledonia Bankhead shaft mine, this is all on private property. So these are leased to hunting clubs. So you can't just go on the site without asking for permission. So just to let the viewers know that all this site is on private property. So looking directly ahead right there would be somewhere in that area is where the Caledonia Bankhead shaft would have been located. Uh, it's kind of a rough estimate. Uh, this right here is the hoist cable foundation uh, for the steam cable hoist, which was a coreless steam cable hoist. And this is the foundation of where it would have sat. Of course, it would have had a building around where the cable hoist would have been, but just right in that direction is where the loading tipple would have been, and they had a rail siding specifically coming off the main line to service the mine and the tipple. But there's some other foundations just down below, but you could get a real good view of the cable hoist foundation right there. So that was really neat to see. Like I said, not much left, but it's always neat to find something that you've researched about. So, but it would have been great to find some photographs of what everything looked like, but unfortunately, I don't think they exist anymore. And that's looking directly north towards the Bankhead Commissary. Okay, this is looking back towards where the Cable Hoist Foundation is located, uh, powered by a coreless steam engine cable hoist. And this right here is the site of the Caledonia / Bankhead shaft mine. You can't really tell too much because of the overgrowth, but it's a big concrete square section that's sealed up. And the shaft went down 160 feet from the surface to reach the Mary Lee coal seam. And there's some various bricks, remains of a foundation that was next to the shaft. And this is looking back directly towards the location of where the loading tipple would have been and the rail line right below. This is the foundation that was situated just below where the doctor's office and the mine and payroll office would have been. The commissary would have been located just straight ahead, and the rail spur line would have been down to the left, paralleling the main rail line. And you had your staircase right here that went up to the doctor's office on the left, and the mine and payroll office would have been to the right of the staircase. Both buildings were situated kind of halfway up the hill, so pretty dense overgrowth. Uh, like I said, not much to see but the foundations and the staircase right there, which is a good indicator of where they were located. And the commissary would have been located directly ahead.
Okay, so you got your main line right here. You had your spur line coming off right here, siding. And what you've got here, you can't really see too much. You got the sunshine and the overgrowth, but that is the base, the concrete retaining wall to the Bankhead Commissary right here. So you had rail cars that pulled up here, offloaded supplies for the commissary, and that's all that remains. It's just the concrete retaining wall running parallel with the spur line here. So figured it'd be a little bit more noticeable, but you definitely couldn't see this in the spring and summer months. So, but anyway, you had more of the mining camp was down here in this low area up along the hills, and further back down along the rail tracks to the right and left of where the trestle is over Owen School Road. So, but anyway, it's a very historic commissary. Stayed in operation and service for as long as the mines did, all the way up into the 50s. So, okay, well, that'll do it for a little field trip to the Bankhead Commissary and Medical Office in the Caledonia shaft mine site.
Hope everyone enjoyed this video presentation of the historic Calumet and Bankhead coal mines. Thank you so much for watching.